that the Blitzcrank is just good into Thresh as well, so I love to see that coming through. And again, On and Wink trying to spread the meta here. Wink obviously played it before in the series, or in the season rather. We do get that top lane focus for IG in the second phase of bans. We get the Scion and the Gwen, maybe setting up a little bit of something for YSKM continually. And then we get the Poppy ban from NIP actually, trying to focus out Gideon and the Camille.
We were going to get bans on all 4 of YSKM's champions. I mean, the champion outside of his main champion pool is the last remaining of that would have been. It's going to be the Ksante again. We're sadly not going to one of the, you know, the crazy specialties of it usually.
Yeah.
Written for Ksante. It's not like YSKM has shied away from it.
He definitely has it, and IG not really utilizing their counter pick on red side, just kind of taking what comp they want here. And we'll see NIP's double lock in to finish out their first game draft, at least. It is the Renekton right now, which I actually really am enjoying, at least to the point, but now it's about what Dream gets in this mid lane.
What can you do against this Syndra? You really want something that can follow up with the Jarvan if at all possible. Don't really have that much engage right now. You might want to dive buddy with it. Something like Akali would actually fit that list. Being able to kind of alongside Jarvan as you go in. Of course, diving into something like a Blitzcrank silence, not always the most exciting thing, but you have to have something which comes up with this Jarvan, otherwise you are just going to be left alone, jumping into the feathers, the dark spheres. On the other side, Gideon being
hey, let's go.
Gideon being left to last pick jungle. I don't see that so much anymore. But Lee Sin
has made it all the way through. That's an easy lock-in for Gideon.
And now you have Lee Sin, Syndra, which some be picking up even in the first rotation. I think it seems like, you know, like Weibo Gaming and RNG were playing off around very strong the jungle TV2s, and I guess LNG, JDG also play the likes of this stuff as well, with very efficient mid laners on both sides of those teams. However, what this leads to now is NIP, strong lanes, but some abilities to find if they make mistakes. Feels like IG, they should be getting pushed in multiple places, particularly that top lane. Renekton gets control early. Then if Jarvan gets a road in, this can get a little bit more spicy. However, you slip up against that blitz of each other at all times. We live and die within face distance of each other. And that's where we disturb in the game. LPL love to fight around these.
There we go. A beautiful cool skyline for Ninjas in Pajamas here. They hear the Gyos loud for this second series. Ninjas in Pajamas take on IG.
5-man fan across the rift. You can see that Rush puts down the early ward, spotting out what's been a Blitzcrank level 1. Didn't see that in the last game. So if we had a for each time we saw a Blitzcrank locked in, today we'd have 2 of them, which is not that much, but it's strange that it's happened twice. We didn't see it in that first game, and just Zhuo doing the bare minimum to just kind of ward that back for the sweeper, back out onto the map. Ward also wants the enemy red buff, so Gideon is going to be spotted out. Not going to have untracked stuff.
Yeah, I get a little bit of vision, information at least for NIP. See if there is a bit of a response from IG in that fashion, but something else I do want to take a little bit of time to focus on is kind of this rejuvenation attempt from NIP, obviously bringing in Shadow, restarting Dream after taking a couple weeks off. It has been interesting to watch, especially with like, the track record of these two guys. Dream burst onto the scene really last year when he had the sub in for Rookie while we were waiting for Rookie to come into the split, and Shadow himself, the pretty much brightest point on LGD felt like last year, even though sometimes that didn't work out for him, and coming in here and trying to spice things up a little bit.
Yeah, as you said, Shadow's had a bit of history themselves. So watching out what's happening in lanes, see that Syndra gets control of the early lane. Not nearly as early lane dominant as the option of Syndra was. They've traded out some of the early Q spam and Q damage or late scaling, where Syndra becomes one of the best single target nuke champions in the game. That though against the Akali, who is just not really a champion at level 1 into these mage matchups, is not really going to get control wave though. Very interesting what is going to happen with Shadow and Gideon. Feels like Jarvan can go to a lot of these lanes.
Nice hook, and that's already down. Photic That's first blood to Wink the Happy Kitty to give him that gold.
Why did I say I was interested in jugglers? We still have a Blitzcrank in the game. Wink is the hook through the wave. There should be no in which you get a wave. It is a stacked cannon wave. Wink finds the angle though.
You were talking about, so I didn't want to cut you up, and I was going to ask you, is this Blitzcrank skin still busted? And I'm just saying, weaving it through. I don't know, man. I don't know.
I think Wink is busted. I think Wink is busted.
I think he is pretty busted.
World in which you're hitting that kind of hook. There's a man of minions.
Oh, no, Dream! Oh, that's so close, but a lot of damage given back over to Gideon. Here comes Shadow to capitalize. Now we're going to find the slow from Dove. Nicely done.
So, Miracle Hook lands from Wink. Gideon, much more standard Lee Sin Q hitting there. Oh, we gotta watch this. How the heck does this work out? So,
dude, I'm telling you, it's the Blitzcrank skin. I'm telling you, man.
No. What that is Photic standing there and CCing himself. He
that
sat there,
was
goes into an animation, and Wink goes, "You're stood still. You're in an animation. I'll have that then."
Weave. That, the minion even got pushed back into the hook. Oh my god, I would watch that like probably 5 more times. That was insane.
The thing is, you can get unexpected hooks with Nautilus like that. Actually, it's something I do on Ahri a lot as well because it is kind of like these, these hanging around the minion kind of skill shots like that. Because a champion is a bit more chunky than a minion, even if you stand slightly behind a minion, there are some cases where your hitbox will actually be ahead of that target, even though you look like you stood behind them. It's called a hitbox sniping because one of them, even though you don't see it, slightly overlaps the other one.
Well, Wink is officially a sniper then at this point in this game, and really, really big stuff because that frees Gideon to either refocus down here or be able to work around that pressure in the bottom side. Photic will need to find a little bit of resources on this Aphelios to be relevant, but he is still that scaling ADC, and NIP maybe trying to lick some wounds down here.
So it is absolutely true and fair to call Aphelios a scary. What I will say, Aphelios very differently head to when you're behind. I'm going to saying this as well. Reminds me a little bit of something like Swain or Vladimir, because when you're very ahead on champions like that, you do a lot of damage, and the more damage, the harder you are to kill because you heal a lot off of that as well. For someone like an Aphelios, if you're not ahead of the game, you get burst out. If you are ahead of the game, also you get to do some of the crazy 200 years kind of experience with all the moves like that. Pretty decent kind of take. You get to do that pretty much every fight of the game. But a game like this now, where you are getting ticked up by the Xayah, which of course we saw in the last matchup as well, when it was mono on the Aphelios. So you're also down a kill, you've been forced down to some CS, you're getting yourself into a point now where Gideon can just focus on bot side. Yes, you're falling behind 10 CS odd in this top side matchup, but mid jungle, then in towards the bot side map, very much IG favored. This Aphelios is not nearly going to have the same kind of ease of execution in this game, which we have seen from other games on this champion.
Yeah, we definitely are going to need to see a real step up from mid-IP at this point. Little bit of gold lead given to IG, but still very, very contested early game here. They do get a lot of vision control around the bot side of the map from IG. You can see where their point of power will be for the remainder of this. Gideon did hover down there, did get the back off here now, though. Shadow going for a little bit of vision information himself.
And information going to be so important because, as we said, we got the whole bottom side of the map from IG, and they don't really care about top side right now. So it's a Ksante. He has very good base utility, despite him being able to do pretty crazy things when he's ahead of the game. IG just needed to sit there, clear waves, and kind of soak up as much pressure as possible. So many options to play around the map. You can see Dove not feeling pressured to do anything with this wave, just hanging minions where he can, try to stack up the splinters. Of course, for those that you're not on Syndra, Syndra probably should be. With LPL, we play a lot of this here, we've got a lot of mid lanes which like it. But if you hit 2 skill shots in quick succession, you start stacking up the splinters. When you level up and you kill, you swap. You kind of get towards your ability upgrades. Dove just holding the wave in place, just seeing if you can get some free splinters off a Dream.
Trying to stack up if possible. Now, we do have another objective coming up very shortly. It is that Rift Herald. See if there's any movement, especially with that kind of early pressure from bottom side for IG. They want to try to get something moving to the top side for these objectives.
What I will say, I think of the places you want to fight from IG, actually, Herald's maybe one of the places you don't want to fight. Akali's first ultimate of the game can get pretty scary. And the big thing is, Renekton is very good at playing around Herald fights. We talked about this a little bit. in games like this, because Renekton is the 1 point of power, and while that will fall off at some point when he doesn't have the mobility to team fight into the late game, around Herald, because you use a lot of your empowered abilities for the first time around then, you have 2 or 3 empowered abilities when to start stacking up, you have so much base damage, and you're very hard to kill. So just don't chance it around Herald. Renekton will eventually fall off. You don't have to force it. Maybe IG can look towards it. Blitzcrank has reset.
We did get double mobility boost here.
I love that as well. I'm kind of sad. Wait, we got the Idol's Rescue. We didn't get Hot Rod. That would have been kind of fun.
That would be. It provides a little boost to movement speed for sure.
But as you can see, just IG, there's no worry for them heading towards topside. Give up the Herald. The one place where you can feasibly lose in this early game.
Actually looking at die. Yeah, it actually looks like they want to collapse here. Vision will spot them out though. Photic has that dark passage from Zhuo to get out of this, but can he do it in time? There's the flash though. He can't. He just can't get out. Oh, it's enough at the last second. Photic burns, but it's not going to be the difference. And while IG pounce, they will get Summoner Spell from the heal. It's not enough. It still would be plates for IG.
It's still plates, still a Cannon Wave lost to tower, and it's still a heal taken away from Photic, who then has to reset. He's sat on like he's sat on a new quiver and a pickaxe. Very sad situation for Photic, and again, the Aphelios loves being ahead of the game. Keep reiterating that, and is very much not in that position right now. Arn in a very good position from the Xayah. Flipping it over to their perspective as well, we're talking about how Arn and Wink had some awesome snowbally bot lane games, particularly when they were playing the Lucian Army, right? But when they played this other worlds,
we will see.
No, we're going to keep talking about that. Okay, get that. That's I was like, where's the hook coming in from this? But yeah, when we've seen Arn and Wink get ahead of the game, they have been a different kind of beast. So seeing them with a good advantage, taking out turrets, turret plates, good signs for IG's bot lane.
Good signs, good signs. We'll take a look at this replay though, and very close, but not able to do it. Trying to deny Photic from the dark passage. He's able to get there in time. Oh, that's the difference maker. That literally was the Sonic Wave.
Right, I actually had not realized that. I was like, oh yeah. So I thought they would. I thought it was going for the like a 100% go for the kill, but sadly not able to finish that one out. And with that said, will still be pretty big advantage towards IG, but it's still not quite the killer blow in that case.
It's a Gale Force for On now. I mean, if Wink lands a hook on anybody, I think it's lights out. Here comes Shadow to make sure that can't happen. I think he snuck in there, actually. Okay. No, Wink will see him in the end. And Gideon just hovering where he's been hovering this whole time. He set up a little bit of a campfire down here.
And that makes a lot of sense. Again, you just don't really have to play towards this top side. As much as Invincible is getting CS leads on this top side, hasn't even got plates at that point. You're getting double dragon stacks on the side. Invictus Gaming as well. I have to see what the soul is. Also, something like that. It's very bad. He's so, like Infernal Assault, absolutely no slouch as well. And we're going to get ourselves Ksante. So, sadly not best thing for IG. I think if Syndra or Xayah ever get low HP, probably losing that fight anyway.
Yeah.
They're not going to get value out of that one. But of course, the Ksante will value that if it comes around to it. So still,
ooh, look at this.
Never a bad thing to take this all.
So preemptively knowing they will just lose this bottom tower, at least another plate down here, they will try to move Photic and Zhuo up here. Shadow up here as well with the Rift Herald in tow. See if they can catch YSKM out. He is unstoppable. Not going to hit the death sentence. The Cataclysm does connect. The Dark Passage there to try to get Photic into the fight, but YSKM dissuading this gank. It still will be the Rift Herald pop in the tower under siege.
Okay, now this is actually very important. You see that IG moving towards this top side because he can't afford to leave this Aphelios alone on that turret. Severin Crescendum, you get to stack up with all of those chakrams. Very good at killing turrets, so Photic has to back off.
Oh, if IG continued to collapse that, I thought they actually might have been able to. NIP step back up.
Dude, I don't think they're in a position to fight at that point, though, still. I don't think you can walk towards them. Maybe without the Xayah there, it's a very different story, but level 6 Lee Sin, terrifying champion. Go towards his first item as well. Photic. Maybe just wait for a lantern to farm this under tower.
should be just fine. But that early adaptation, getting some gold on Photic, I love to see that. Needing some sort of advantage here for NIP. We had said, you know, kind of trying to get something off the ground rolling for them is a key priority. See them continue to try to do so while Han has stacked up a big old lead over Photic, about 1.3k. We did get that Sunfire completed, at least for Shadow.
Han at the point where he's starting to free hit this turret, even against Invincible clearing under it. And yeah, Invincible's not feeling too great about the situation. He's going towards the ordering here. You know what? I wonder if he had to really go towards trying to go towards the Prowler score one shot. I just feel like at this point, you're against quite a long-range backline of the Syndra and the Xayah. You need to get on top of them. Trying to get yourself a flank and be an extra diving partner with Dream. Prowler score is very good to kind of give you that extra spot of mobility in these situations.
Oh, goodness.
I mean, Goldringer is better for the 1v1. It allows you to do some more against the Ksante, but you're realistically not even hitting turret against the Ksante inside lane.
True.
So definitely not going to be in a position where you're winning through side lane at that point. I wonder if Invincible could have gained more value from his build. This is not always going to be the be-all and end-all. Worth noting in these cases.
And we did see first tower actually go over to On, so even more gold dumped into the pocket of the ADC for IG. And in a prime position, be an influence for this Rift Herald fight in about a minute that both teams are already trying to get vision control around of.
Yeah, NIP would really like to not have to deal with the proverbial sort of Damocles of having very early dragons held over their heads. It's just such an annoying thing in Pro League of Legends. It was added for that reason, of course, because games were going so long, because you didn't have to fight when there was no soul over it, threatening very early Elder and stuff like that. But at this point in time, NIP is feeling the weight of objectives going against them. Gold going against them. Gideon, though, caught out.
He's in a little bit of trouble here. Hook goes in on a Shadow. He brings him right in. Shadow's already gone, though. Nice damage from On. Dream does find one on the wink. Nice hook comes through from Zhuo, but he might go down as well. It's such a split fight, but the blade call from On separates them, and Dove takes down Zhuo. Sonic Wave does connect this time. Gideon wants to follow it up. Dove is right here around the corner with the Scatter of the Week. It doesn't connect, though.
Yeah, Gideon not flying in on that one would have absolutely got blown up. But Dream, you can see that this Akali, if you get a split fight, still has power to be used against IG, especially if they can't protect a backline or they can separate some players away from the big damage sources. It's a 2v3 currently, but Shadow is in the area and he didn't get to ult that last fight. So potential of a fight for NIP should this last long enough. Herald's going to go down right now. IG, what's your plan? You're engaging or you're retreating?
Okay, they end up getting it. Shadow goes to the engage. Cataclysm used here now. Wink it on the side. You got to watch out for the damage that this Feather Recall can do at least. And now they actually just back out. It will be that Rift Herald given over to IG.
Feels pretty bad for NIP. Feels like, again, this kind of point in the game, around these early Herald fights, that's where you want to be using your Akali and your Renekton at this point in the game, particularly the Renekton, but see how much value Dream gets out. Shadow does a decent job of finding out Gideon where he can, but after that point, doesn't get the ult, gets absolutely blitzed by the Blitzcrank, of course. Finding some value from that pick. And this is where things get kind of funky, because you can see that the Renekton kind of flashes forward. Great reactions from Arn to not get stunned up actually at that point. That could have been an absolute game changer if Xayah went down early into that fight, but NIP, they make the mistakes versus this fairly punishing comp of IG. They lose that Herald fight, potentially losing themselves this soul point as well. Talk about how that could be important towards IG. IG, what are you doing with this? Hook misses.
So close. IG did start the dragon. They immediately backed out, realizing they aren't a really great position to kind of get engaged on. Dream has been on a big old flank over here, but I was here to try to push out the mid lane, get a little bit more presence for IG.
Okay, so no cleanse, no flash for On. We would keep an eye out for those. We also don't have the ult for a couple of seconds. We'll be up for that fight though. So every ultimate but the Cataclysm available, which is a pretty big engaged tool for NIP. You're looking at Dream. Dream's on this flank, he's out of vision, but he's not got a great timing right now to make anything of it. As you can see, doesn't manage to hold his position long enough.
That's really good man marking from IG.
So, NIP, a posture. I hope that this house doesn't flow down. IG
should get this tower mid lane though as a response for it.
They chunk it, but they won't get it. And now actually Photic's gonna have to take that. Oh, that's dangerous.
Oh, not again. Oh, he gets to it with the flash. Whew. Making your blood boil a little bit there. As NIP get out just a little bit, that Rift Herald will be popped in mid lane, and IG, I have 5 members here.
Yeah, and even though you don't get the kill on the Aphelios, Aphelios is not going to be here for the answer Cataclysm.
Shadow just goes in for a monster Cataclysm, separating a lot of the fight here. Moonlight Vigil into multiple members, and Dream has picked up on and got out of there. And Invincible finds YSKM. The safeguard comes in at the last second. Shadow set up a monster engage for NIP off of the back of a charge in mid lane with the IG Rift Herald.
And the late change to the roster of NIP. Shadow coming into the jungle finds a big play. He's been looking for the engage. He has been the sole initiator. It's not like NIP have a huge amount of engage. Shadow makes it work in the mid lane. Sadly for them, it's not before the dragon goes down. Another big factor coming into this as well is that we talked about how Aphelios couldn't really join the fight early on. He'd actually managed to get some of the empowered fruit just before this point. So actually, even after this point, you have such a huge AD carry difference, despite Photic not actually being able to kind of capitalize on the back end of that play. IG, you kind of overestimate how much damage they can take, and Arn, without that flash, without that cleanse, in a moment of brief vulnerability, NIP pounce.
Yeah, the Zhuo wait till the Feather Storm came down in the Cataclysm. Obviously, you can't move, even though it looks like you're going up in the air. You can't go over those walls, and just waiting at the last second to get that death sentence off in On's life. But now On will have that cleanse back. Splash coming up very soon. Next fight looking a lot better for IG. And while NIP just try to scrounge up some resources here, they are a bit of a timer, though, for themselves. 3 minutes till that soul fight for IG on the Chempunk Dragon.
And given the plates which went over to Arn in the early gold, it does feel like, again, it's quite hard to play out a lot of these fights as the Aphelios. Maybe they'll change it to 2 items. Waiting to see whether this is going to be the Bloodthirster or the Infinity Edge for Photic. Of course, the Bloodthirster, the BF Sword and the Crit builds into both of those items. So, some questions to be asked of Photic and what his role wants to be in these fights. Are you looking to peel back against the Ksante, or are you looking to be more bursty? Especially, actually, this is the point. So, because Blitzcrank ultimate bursts through shields, it just kind of like removes them. Bloodthirster has less value in this game because if you kind of flash ult the silence and the shield break and then get on top of it, Aphelios, there are some edge case scenarios where Wink gets some really nasty combos. So maybe that tips the reasoning over to going towards Infinity Edge. Second item, Spike, fight around that, higher damage around that dragon.
That's a Everfrost for Wink, man.
We saw that. We have seen that a couple of times.
People. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like, you're not there to do damage to the Blitzcrank necessarily. You are just there to make someone immobile. They're not allowed to do anything. It's not like Photic has a cleanse either. He doesn't have a cleanse. There's none of the Kales built up. Thresh doesn't really build that item anyway. It's not like Thresh gets a huge amount of gold to really work with on that front. But yeah, very worth noting that. Maybe Wink can do something a little bit more tricksy with that then. Wait until he gets his flash back up.
For Photic.
Okay, I'll be talking through the reasoning for that one. Second item, Spike. Maybe that is the damage bump which NIP can use to walk away with the team fight. Not too far behind in that gold value, only the 2,000, but extra gold, obviously kind of artificially put in through those dragon stats.
And see YSKM and Invincible get a little bit more give to these team fights as well, as we're cresting into that important part to the team fight for NIP. About a minute, 15 seconds. Till the dragon spawns, and the NIP just need to clear out some of this vision. Dream actually looking for a flank onto On. Oh, they shadow. Maybe preemptively going in. There's the death sentence on Gideon. Gideon just trying to get out of there. Rocket grab rather doesn't hit the Cataclysm.
Oh, the
with
kick.
That kick over. Shadow's all by himself. Dark Passage is there, but he can't get to it. And the darkness has taken his life. IG get it, and now there's no jungler for NIP to stop this dragon take.
Wink saw division just over here. There's another hook coming through, but that is the kind of play which just really sucks for NIP because Shadow has been trying really hard as basically the only engaged threat from NIP to try and find angles. But you kind of talked about this in regards to Dream getting called out a little bit earlier, or at least kind of checked earlier. The man marking. IG only have to have eyes on Shadow realistically in a lot of these scenarios, unless there is a big flank angle where Dream is off of vision.
They're going to push to Baron.
This might be a bit desperation-y. They might just give this up again. Chemtech is not the best soul ever, but when you have Severin Crescendo, huge single target damage from Photic, they're starting it up, they're forcing the response.
Ping from IG, they're coming. They don't even need to take this dragon. They've stacked themselves up well. They can punish NIP, and look how much damage Photic is taking for the Baron.
Why is he tanking? How is he tanking? They managed to lose half their
HP. They need to pull out of this. This is an ejection moment, but your Dream actually says maybe we stick in this. Maybe we get a flank here. As On hovering over that side, got to be very careful.
Very, very careful. Dream on that flank angle. This is one of the negative things of something like going for that Infinity Edge second. You don't have the infinite amount of lifesteal like something like a Bloodthirster plus Severin does give you. Wink is going to be
They're just gonna do it again.
They're
just pulling. They're trying to pull IG.
You're still half health on Photic. This is gonna be so dangerous. He's gonna have to use his Severum ultimate to heal up. He's not gonna be able to get maximum damage in these fights.
As well. It's the AOE for the Baron. As the knockback comes through, there's the power unleashed on a Dream. No hooks at least connecting just yet. That is NIP running away. YSKM trying to catch Photic out, but there's a nice dark passage. The rest of NIP walk away. IG are like, guys, stop this. We just want to take Thresh.
Stop this. Very silly. As it is when you're going to go for that multiple times with a half health AD carry. Photic was not in a position to fight. IG, they just end up disengaging that Baron. That's absolutely fine. See that Shadow in position for a potential steal over here, but the ward's up for the IG. Just need to not snatch and grab at this. Just play it out slowly. You have the advantage on the map right now. You stop doing that Baron, and the soul point is yours. Soul is yours if you take this.
Shadow waiting for the steal. Can he make a difference here? It wasn't a difference in the BLG series, but now it's a relive. No! Gideon gets the steal, or at least the take, and that is soul for IG.
So Gideon secures it. Shadow had not bad timing, all things said and done on that one. Did have the vision over the wall. But Lee Sin, one of the best objective securers in the game. Whether you're the one or stealing it over a wall or whatever. That Q with the AD buff as well. Lee Sin buffs in the recent patches gives you 10% on both ends of your resonating strike. And the Sonic Wave, of course, just before it. So Gideon gets that secure. Soul is secured. The thing is now, the dangerous thing for IG is that you are ahead of this game and you do have Soul. Not the best Soul, so it's not going to be game-ending. Elder Dragon is now up. If NIP can survive another 5 minutes to a point where they can potentially get a steal, Elder is always a threat, especially in a game like this when all of your damage is coming out of Syndra and Xayah. Realistically, you're not really getting as much kind of auxiliary damage from your most of your other members on the map, despite Lee Sin being a fairly strong champion. If Elder gets stolen, there is every world in which some like Dream or Photic then start popping off at that point. You cannot afford to let that happen. IG, can you use your chokehold on the map right now to get yourself a Baron, bust through some more turrets, maybe break open the base? That is really what we need to see from them. If this goes into a flippy scenario, there's every world, despite having a good early game, can lose this game.
They truly can, and that is the scariest part, but it is also looking where that gold is and where the itemization is going. Right, we're on 2 items now for majority of carries. We're looking at Dream with the Akali to really step up to the occasion, but Dove as well on the other side will be ready to respond. He takes a side lane tower as well. That Black Cleaver now completed for Invincible.
There's some extra threat, particularly against the Ksante. Of course, a bit of ability to burst out. Zhuo's Lanterns, have actually been very good this game. Photic and Zhuo, besides that level 1 awkward hook, or the level 2, I suppose, have been playing this out fairly well as far as things go. It's just been so hard for them to play from behind. Baron now started from IG, as you said. They really want to take this.
How the turntables here, Nymaera. How the turntables.
Looks both equally ineffective.
Shadow's going. Dove's the focus here. He goes golden though. Wink is in trouble now as well. There is Photic stacking up some shots here. The AoE. They get the Moonlight Vigil as well. That Inferno's doing some work now. Is it going to be a Quadra? It goes over to Invincible and NIP. Take a team fight.
And Invictus Gaming, they give up way too much vision control. They go to the Baron, but they skip steps. Shadow finds the angle, Shadow finds the engage. Dove has no way to outplay the dive on top of him once they close that distance. And NIP, seriously impressive to see them kind of in a very difficult scenario, finding the angle, finding the fog of war, finding both a fight and a Baron.
The all-in together is what's getting me for NIP. It's just decisiveness on target calling, and it's working out for them in multiple occasions now. There is that Baron, a lot of presence on the map here, given over to NIP, and they'll be evening up the gold advantage that IG had developed for themselves.
They do, and they also managed to wait until all of their members that are alive to get full stack of Baron buff. Everyone has it, and Shadow,
he didn't see
vision. He standard giving vision over the wall as well. It's just, and a double knockdown at that point.
Double re-engage.
Shadow, we haven't seen this guy in a little while. He sat out for most of spring, comes back. Much in the way we were talking about Southwind in that last series, being subbed out for a couple of series. Shadow with a point to prove. In actually what is quite a difficult game for this Jarvan as well in some ways. It feels like you are again the one go button for your team, really making the most of it. So, Baron taking stock of this game. Gold is even now. Most of the time, you'd see a soul take and you think, oh, but isn't that a big game changer? It is the Chemtech soul, and as we saw with Dove and Arn, didn't really change the way they played out that fight. They were already getting absolutely blasted out. So it wasn't really like that to change anything. And what that means is that NIP, if they can win a fight around that Baron, they can sure as hell win a fight around the Elder. We are in, for now, a very interesting late game scenario when NIP have a pretty good foothold.
And the thing is that last play, that was something initiated by IG. They pulled the Baron like, all right, let's fight NIP. And NIP, welcome to that fisticuff fight. And now we have to look at these next step, 1:15 until that Elder Dragon you were highlighting comes onto the map. We are looking to see that now the third item for Photic, the Lord Doms is there. Got 3.5 for On, and we are about to get a bloody fight over this big objective, potentially game-changing objective.
Game-changing indeed. Elder very rarely isn't when it's on the table. You cannot afford to ignore it. On walks up. Doesn't have cleanse, doesn't have flash. Very important to note those things for this fight. As much as we said, Arn has been very good from the lead, from an advantage. Most of this split. I find it very hard to disengage the diving combo of NIP if he's caught out of position.
CIG moving in and try to get a little bit more vision here. They actually have a good amount of control of vision on NIP's side of the jungle, and you're going to need to see bit of a safety squad, maybe some safety nets there for NIP to move up. And they'll use the rest of this Baron but about 30 seconds to maybe move out from mid lane with it.
Two other things to note as well. Don't have that third item in from Dove. He used that stopwatch in that last fight. Sadly for him, could not survive even with that. And he doesn't have a Zhonya's for this fight. So no stasis available for Dove. Dove does have that Seraphs. Does feel like there is ample damage now, particularly coming in from the diving combo and the overhead of the artillery strike of Photic. Could be very, very big. The vision control is good from IG, but remember, they slipped once and they let someone have a flank. I think it's got very awkward after that point. Invincible pops the stopwatch.
Trying to get out of that rocket grab as well. Shadow in a little bit of trouble. He's on the other side, trying to go through with that engage after IG split off. He can't find that angle.
Well, seconds away from having flash. Seconds away from having flash with Shadow. If he has that up, again, he's off on the side. Shadow, whenever he's on Fog of War, it's very, very difficult. See how difficult it is?
There he is. He finds the back, but he gets kicked out of his own Cataclysm. Now re-engaging is Dream, gets the power unleashed used onto him. Moonlight Vigil will connect. Inferno does a lot. YSKM using it all out to get Dream over the wall. They find Dream, but they can't get the damage connected onto him. Gideon gets engaged on the play. It's huge, and now IG are in the cage match against NIP, and they're trying to fight their way out of it. YSKM gets one back on Zhuo, but Invincible should chase him down. And NIP trying to route out IG. TP's coming back in for the mid laners, and we got round 2 fight as Wink is going down now. Double kill for Invincible.
And NIP, they do it again. They force IG back with the threat of the Jarvan engage, which means that they can't really protect their carries. Dove tries to hold on to his fire for as long as possible, but this is Elder. You can't afford to give up this fight. It's on Dove, it's on Arn. What can they do?
Here comes Dream. Dream has found the long flank. He walked all the way around. IG realized what has happened, and they have to walk away. Shadow goes for that engage. Dream wants to cut them down, but On is pumping out some feathers right now, and there's no more for Shadow. There's no jungler, and Elder Dragon goes to Invictus.
It felt like the hard work was done. Photic getting close down, trying to chase away the carries.
He can't do it. Elder Dragon wings flapping. On gets the kill. Dream picking off on Dove, but it's again. Oh my God, wait, before the animation went through. Dream, you're nuts, but you ain't getting out of this one.
No, he is not. It was a valiant effort from NIP, fighting back against the Soul, claiming that play around the Baron. But when it comes to the Elder, the all-important Elder Dragon, IG finally just about managed to mount a retreat. Shadow not quite able to find the miracle engage, only really found Dove with that one Cataclysm. And even after that point, things got very, very strange afterwards. We even saw Chemtech Rift come into play, some big blast cones buying space for IG to wait out that round of cooldowns, disengage and come back for another crack. And that second crack at the Elder Dragon very much went in Invictus Gaming's favor. So
they can snowball this in the Baron too.
They have themselves... Well, I mean, the Elder Dragon is coming up in 20 seconds. You're absolutely right. Gideon walking up towards this top side of the map, trying to find Shadow. Dude, let's have the Radiant Virtue. Very tanky Jarvan. But IG, they made it a little bit difficult on themselves in this late game. They put themselves back in the lead.
Still got a minute on this Elder Dragon buff. Baron is on the table. There's already pings from IG onto that as well. So should be able to utilize this buff to grab that secondary objective. And now it's just about sieging onto the base here.
But it will be, can't really fight up against that Elder Dragon. So, Baron's live, won't be for very long. Dream heading towards that bottom lane. Be a good point to check in at this point. Seeing what items have been built after that last Elder Dragon fracas. We do have Zhonya's in for both of our mid laners now, so that stasis available. Very important to note that. We have a GA or two across the board as well, particularly for Invincible. Fairly important to note. And we have a couple of stopwatches. Stopwatch particularly on very, very worth noting that one. So, defensive abilities across the board. I feel like that favors IG. They're the ones which just need to survive the initial engage. Right now, with the last the Elder buff, we're just happy to group, stack, try and take down the base.
And they get these stacking waves coming in. This should be Inhib in mid lane, taken out. Tier 2 tower under siege and top side by YSKM. Maybe an opportunity for an IP. There still is the Elder. Now it has fallen. Gideon actually finding on an Invincible, but the rest of his team is caught out here. Power Unleash comes through. We got Odd trying to get some big blade caller damage, and he does as well. 2 kills go through, and there ain't much left here in this game. As NIP, one last ditch effort potentially as Invincible gets his GA pop, but the Baron's still up for 2 minutes. This will be the final push.
Road bump or two later along the road. IG do find themselves towards their first victory in this series. That dream up, can't see them defending the Nexus.
Okay. A little bit of fight back given. Shadow on the other side of the fight. So Photic is not able to get the damage out. Does try to get one last flashy flash, but that is it. And a close finish for IG, but they handle business as business is done.
NIP tried to find their way back into the game through some miracle Jarvan engages, but only so many times you can pull out that kind of magic. Shadow, despite having a really confident win, confident game run, not a win, was not enough to see it out there, despite his return to an LPL starting lineup. And NIP, they've had their struggles, they've had their slumps, they've had their slides, and now they have to see themselves fighting an uphill battle into the rest of the series.
I will say those Shadow and Dream were those big moments for me, right? You got to see so many great engages from Shadow, Dream on the Akali trying to pick apart the composition from IG, but IG stand front and center. They started stacking up those dragons, and it helped them a lot. That grittiness in the fight, the kind of re-TPs in, but especially the Lee Sin, it felt like for Gideon, unlocked a ton of the composition of IG.
As soon as that first hook hit towards bot lane, you're like, oh boy, this is going to give Gideon a lot of options to play around the rest of the map. And Gideon, considering he started as very much just kind of a Maokai one-trick towards the start of the split, which is completely valid. Maokai is a very strong champion.
It was very strong.
To see him evolve beyond that, go on to a champion which is very diametrically opposed to the Maokai. It is very much about first couple of levels into individual kind of pick plays, aggressive play, as opposed to kind of setting up for your team and being a facilitator. Gideon, despite coming in with a mixed run of form coming in from the LCK, starting again to show some of the learnings he's had in the LPL.
Yeah, man, it really showed through. I know we put a little bit of stock into the battle of the rookie top laners. That was a lot more quiet than we maybe had wanted it to be, even with the kind of picks that we're getting, but it was not quiet from Gideon, from Dove as well, but On and Wink having a really pop-off 2v2 down there. And I think against the names that we were talking and kind of lauding for NIP, Photic, last year having such incredible moments for Victory 5, now NIP, but we didn't get to see as much of that pull through, and it really was the Dove and On show.
Yeah. Photic tried his best. Zhuo's lanterns
there was
also...
that little blip. Look at it. Look at it.
One Baron play made things a little questionable. Yeah, I think Zhuo on the Thresh did about as much with those lanterns after a point. It wasn't like the Blitzcrank was kind of snowballing things into oblivion. The lanterns kept him at bay long enough. But I think going into the second game, I have to really question NIP's draft and to say, okay, you need to add yourself in a bit more engaged if you're going to play a very melee-heavy composition. Jarvan, Akali, that's pretty okay on its own. You need someone else which can supplement that engage. So IG, they're very happy to play back, try and outlast that first round of combos, take a second part of that fight, which is what they did for most of that game, and mostly it worked out for them.
Yeah, Odd had a 93% KP. My goodness. We'll see who ends up getting MVP for that first game from IG, but we're going to step away for